So you might remember the story of the sea turtle Mavis in Dolphin Tale 2, but every story has a beginning. Let's explore a little and find where sea turtles make their entrance into life. Meet the Washbacks.
Well, a washback hatchling is actually a hatchling that successfully made it to the weed line and was thriving out there and doing very well, but some kind of event happened. Either they were sick, they weren't able to find food, or there was a storm event like what happened in our case in the 2015 season.
What is a washback?
A washback is when you wash something again.
It's dirty. You got to bring it back to be washed a second time. That's a perfect answer.
I think it's when there's two dolphins in together and they wash each other's backs.
It's a whale that just got out of the shower.
What is a washback? That's perfect. That is the sound effect answer. That is exactly what, remarkably, that's exactly what a washback sounds like.
Our sea turtle nesting program at the Clearwater Marine Aquarium encompasses 26 miles of beach in Pinellas County.
It starts as early as March 15th. It can go as late as October, or the last nest has hatched.
So when the hatchlings hit the water, they're basically entering what's called a swimming frenzy, and it can go on for almost 7 days of nonstop swimming, and they're heading towards the weed line or the sargassum that's naturally floating out in the Gulf, and they're trying to find it. And it's basically a big patch of grass that's going to camouflage them and hide them.
A washback is a hatchling sea turtle that has emerged from the nest environment, has made it successfully to the water, but for whatever reason, it is washed back onto the beach. So it might have been strong winds and strong currents that pushed it back. Maybe he was tired, maybe he's sick, so he just doesn't have the energy to swim past all of that.
So our first hatching event started in June. So past that point, up until August, we were receiving washback hatchlings. Our washback hatchlings came from a variety of places. We had some as north as Honeymoon Island down to as south as St. Pete area. But it was all over the place, stretching over 26 miles of beach.
All these guys wash ashore. It was a huge number of washbacks that we've never seen before.
Compared to years previous when we were working with singular digits of hatchlings, now we're dealing with double digits with the 16 and even more at some point.
Well, a washback hatchling, but they look quite a bit different. They're actually hairy. They have algae growth on them, and they look like they're old because they've got all this hair on their beaks. Well, we got 16 washbacks, and our job was quite encompassing.
So when a hatchling came into our program, they were immediately triaged. We took stranding information. We took measurements on their length of their carapace, the width of their carapace.
They were getting fluids and antibiotics as well at this point. It's like raising a baby.
When you live amplified in St. Pete Clearwater, you dive deeper into every crazy, cool, connected moment. Come feel the pulse at liveamplified.com.
Well, one of my staff members was pregnant, and I think all she did was eat ice cream constantly and was always at Dairy Queen. So she came up with the idea of naming him after ice cream flavors.
Something fun that we like to do in our turtle rehab department is we come up with themes for all of our animals. Right now the hatchlings this summer, their theme was ice cream flavors. So they all have little initials on their backs. Each of those stands for something like cookie dough to green tea ice cream to cake batter, pistachio. You know, you can think of your favorite ice cream flavor. We've probably named a turtle after it this summer.
We would use nail polish to basically mark them so we could keep them all distinguished on what treatments each one were getting.
So our rehab program was kind of an Excel spreadsheet setup where we would have each turtle, what they were supposed to eat for that day, what activity were we hoping to see out of them, any additional comments. It's very detailed down to each individual sea turtle's treatments and needs. And really pushing the boundaries on certain aspects because not a lot of facilities have done as much as we have on hatchlings.
Medical issues were low glucose, so that means they weren't eating. These guys need food constantly, and they're not eating. They weren't strong enough to actually eat.
Some were being tube fed.
We used little toothpicks to help hold their mouth open, or the tip of your fingernail. So we actually took little tiny syringe caps and took these little tiny extension sets that have needles on the end. We cut off the needles with these little tiny tubes, and we used that to tube them, like feeding a little tiny bird.
Then they graduated to gel cubes.
And so we'd mix different baby foods with different vegetables and make a milkshake, and then we actually froze it into ice cube trays, and it was hysterical. Some of the hatchlings would just go absolutely crazy over it and just dive right in, and it's starting to thaw out, so they'll have it all over their face, and it was just a mess.
Then by the end of their term, when they were ready to go, they were catching their own live minnows.
And that was our final test on if they can go out. And so we'd have our sacrificial minnows swimming around this pool and all these little hatchlings running after them. It was really cute and actually pretty funny when they finally caught one and it's as big as their head.
So on our end, from our rehab perspective, our hatchlings were ready to be released. The problem with nature is we couldn't find a weed line to properly release them into.
So we sent one of our volunteers out there that had a boat to kind of investigate. He couldn't find it anywhere. So all week long we're getting reports of, no weed line, no weed line. There's a lot of mouths to feed. They really need to go back out into the wild. They need to be released. What can we do? And I kind of gave my manager the challenge of like, what are we going to do? And he's like, we're gonna get an airplane. And I was like, okay, let's do this.
We geared up and we went to the Clearwater Airport. The captain of the boat, obviously the pilot, and myself that coordinated what we were looking for.
Okay, and then if we see it slow down, maybe when we turn around to come back to mark it. Because we mark a good one at 50 miles out.
At certain points of the flight, we were about 4,000 feet above sea level. So that's pretty far up, and if you have to think, you're looking at a tiny, tiny weed line. So we wanted to be able to see it from that high up because we knew it would be a significant size down right at sea level. So the first one we found was about 40 miles out, which was pretty good, but it was kind of patchy and it wasn't ideal. So we went about 94 miles out and we found this beautiful sargassum line. I mean, you could see it for miles, you couldn't see an end of it. So that's the one we marked, where we basically marked the coordinates. The captain put in the information that he would need for his boat log, and then we simply returned back to Clearwater.
Join us next time for part 2 of the Washbacks, the return home. See you then.
All right, so they said that Nicholas knows what a washback is. They want me to ask him. I have my doubts, but we're going to go ahead and ask. Nicholas, do you have any idea what a washback is? I told you dolphins know nothing about washback.